I'm in accounting, finance and accounting. I invested in Bitcoin at one point in very small dollars, and it was something I should have stayed in for an investment purposes, but I never believed in it as a global currency, and I think that's where my hang up is. So here's what I want to do. I want to see what happens.
Welcome to Sat Chats, the Bitcoin podcast where we chat about sats. Sats are the smallest part of a Bitcoin, the same way pennies are the smallest part of a dollar. With Sat Chats, we are building the world's biggest Bitcoin welcome center to serve as your gateway to generational wealth. So if you're brand new to Bitcoin, we want to chat about sats with you. Head to satchats.com to grab your slot in the studio today. I'm your host, Stuart, Bitcoin Maxi, who wears prescription sunglasses to protect you and your loved ones from my Bitcoin laser eyes.
And I'm your co-host, Chris, founder and CEO of Ithaca Hummus.
Hummus.
And what else? Resident Bitcoin smash buyer when my wife lets me. And I've got an announcement.
Alert.
We're giving away 10 million sats. 10 million sats. All you have to do is subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we just set a brand new goal, literally downstairs before we walked up here. We're trying to get to 2,700 subscribers by August 21st. Yeah.
Help us get to 2,700 by August 21, but I'm not going to pay you 10 million sats so we get to 100K because my style of goal setting is to make them gigantic.
99 Christians on the way. Couple weeks. Stuart's wife coming on the show. Stuart needs to buy more Bitcoin, and he can't do it unless his wife is on board.
Yeah, because we a modern couple, y'all.
Yeah, so that's the goal.
So in the studio today, we have number 90, Shane. Shane's got some experience in crypto, but not in Bitcoin, right?
A little bit in Bitcoin from the past.
Okay. So we're going to kind of unpack his story, and we're going to see if we can unstick whatever's going on in Shane's head so he can get back on the narrow path of Bitcoin with us. But we're also going to hold it real nice and loose. Tell the Satillionaires what you're planning to do here before you came on the show. Right here. Let them know, Shane.
What I was planning to do?
Uh-huh. Or at least what your wife said you were going to do.
Okay. She said I was going to take the money because I have some reservations about the practicality of Bitcoin.
Okay.
So we will see.
So stay tuned all the way to the end of today's episode to see if Shane decided to stack it a sats, huh?
Stack the sats? Is that what you just said? Jeez. Okay.
What was Mark saying? Satoshis. Satoshis.
Yeah.
Let's see if Shane stacks the Satoshis.
Yeah.
So before we get started on all that, Shane, help our Satillionaires get to know you just a little bit.
Yeah, background in finance, finance and accounting, what I do for my day job, a lot of manufacturing stuff for our company. When you mentioned SMART goals, brought me right back into that world, and I showed up here so that I didn't have to think of that world. So
sorry about that.
Yeah. All good.
So you actually have a background in finance.
Yes.
Interessante.
I invest quite a bit, so in stocks, and I'm trying to invest in real estate as I go forward, and some of the other things that people build generational wealth doing. Like to own my own business one day, but we'll see what that's going to be. Don't know yet.
So tell us about your experience, because I already got some question now. But tell us about your experience with crypto and with Bitcoin. What's going on there?
Yeah, if looking back, it was a mistake not to invest more into crypto. I'll admit that up front, right? Because of the appreciating asset, and it's now sitting at a lot higher than what I could have bought it at. But back in 2017, I was working with a gentleman, Jake Scott. He was co-worker at the time, then he became the manager of the group. But he was huge Bitcoiner. He loved investing in and out. He thought he was going to retire at one point, but then I think he overbought and it went down by a lot and he sold. So he went the other way.
He sold the dip.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. He thought it was crashing, and but I'm sure he's done very well in his portfolio, and we'd always talk about it every day at work. And at the time it was about $3,000 per coin, and he was trying to convince me to buy. I didn't do it. I ended up going with Ripple because I thought Ripple was more of a return on investment, which it would have been if I kept it, and I didn't. So
He's talking about XRP.
yes, yes.
Okay. So, do you still have cryptocurrency today?
No, not anymore.
Do you have any Bitcoin?
No.
Okay. So, what I'm hearing there is that the first thing we need to talk about is the distinction between cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, because you're referring to all of it as crypto. And even though technically, linguistically, dictionary-wise, Bitcoin is a form of currency powered by cryptography, aka cryptocurrency, the term crypto has now, through semantic drift, moved on to mean only those tokens that are issued by a centralized authority like Ripple, along with tokens that may have some utility in the future, like a decentralized software application that's powered by this token, in kind of an Ethereum style manner, or just full on fart coin, just straight up.
Yeah, the crazy stuff.
Donald Trump doo-doo coin, whatever, like just like literally anything coin, you know what I mean? Charizard coin, like whatever, right? So crypto means that world of oscillating and volatile penny stocks and dice throws, general gambling mentality, where you want to just find something and have it go to the moon quickly and get back out of it so that you're safe.
Sure.
Bitcoin is Bitcoin, and it is the only thing like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is decentralized, and Chris did a great job, I think, on Katie's episode going through this. Bitcoin is decentralized. It is a many-headed hydra, and to kill Bitcoin would mean to find over 20,000 individual computers around the world and somehow shut them all down at once. And by the way, even if you did, as soon as they came back online, they would just check each other's work and they would keep going. It is decentralized. Your cryptocurrency and your government token is also centralized, right? Your US, this guy over here, Ulysses S. Grant, that is a centrally issued token. It is no better or worse than XRP. Bitcoin also follows rules. You must work for it by applying computing power to the mathematical problem that comes out of that cryptographic sequence. A new block is added to the chain every 10 minutes. Every single transaction is recorded in plain view. The source code is in plain view. Every 10 minutes, when you see this little thing flash green, that means Bitcoin has proved itself again to the world as a machine that works, period. Every 10 minutes, every single transaction ever recorded over the past 16 years is audited all over again. All over again. Do they audit XRP every 10 minutes? Do they audit the US dollar every 10 minutes? The whole history of it every 10 minutes? No. So it's decentralized, it's transparent, it's also secure. It's secure. If you have Bitcoin in your own custody, you're a man, right? You want things to be yours. Then it would take a computer more guesses to crack into your wallet than there are atoms in the observable universe. Okay? To guess the 12 words that equal the key to your wallet, a computer would need more guesses than it can make, period. So Bitcoin is this headless machine with no CEO, no company, nothing. It's basically a protocol, right? Just like the internet has all these different layers, there's a protocol, TCP/IP, that allows you to get on the internet. Okay? There's a protocol, SMTP, that allows you to send emails. This is just a money protocol that runs on top. So Bitcoin is Bitcoin crypto is kryptonite.
Well, so you said it runs on rules, but maybe the most important of those rules is that there is a supply cap to Bitcoin. There's 21 million. There will never be more than that.
Yeah. One of my questions.
There's 21 million. And, you compare that to even XRP. What's the supply cap of XRP?
They issued a ton, and then they said, let there be us, we get 80%. And then they said, y'all fight over the remaining 20%.
And is there anything that says that they can issue more XRP if they want?
I don't know enough about it.
Yeah, me either.
All I know is that it's a centrally issued token. So I'm out.
Yeah.
As soon as you say, hey, we're issuing this token from a central location, bye. Goodbye, Felicia. Because that means you can do whatever you want. And the gouvernement has been doing whatever they want with their token for so long that eggs are $12 a dozen.
I don't even think we know how many dollars are actually in existence. They try to measure it with M1, M2, M3. It's like, how many are there?
No.
Yeah.
There's so many we can't even measure it.
And what's valid even, right? So if you found $1 from the 1700s, is that still valid today?
Right.
I think that they discontinued it. So you don't know what's valid, what's not valid, who's accepting, the dollar and who's not.
But I heard a question there real quick. I heard a question about the supply. What's your question about the supply of Bitcoin?
So I want to touch on what you said earlier. You said, I'm in accounting, finance and accounting. You said it's automatically audited. Mm-hmm. Bitcoin is automatically audited. Is that the algorithm auditing it, or is that the population that owns Bitcoin auditing itself? So is the people auditing it, or is it a algorithm that's auditing transactions?
I don't think there's an algorithm, but it's a combination of you and your software that is performing this exercise. So how familiar are you with the blockchain?
Basics, right? So I know the basics of essentially how it was, Bitcoin was set up, the finite supply, things like that. So I know generalized.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the way that the blockchain works in a very simple way, which I'm not simplifying it from a deep understanding. I only understand it on a simple level as well. But what you do is every 10 minutes, see all these orange dots? Mm-hmm. These are people transacting on the network right now, okay? And this mempool on the right-hand side is just a place where the transactions hang out in order for the next 10 minutes to pop them on and click them in, and they're recorded for all time and they're good, right?
This is a block that's forming right now.
Yes.
I see.
Okay. Every 10 minutes, they call it tick-tock next block, okay? No matter whether you could be a politician, you could be in the military, you could be Dr. Strange. There's nothing you can do to stop Bitcoin from continuing along because no one controls it. And it's so widely dispersed and so well supported that it's game over. It's Jover, okay? So those transactions, they're going to be forming a block, all right? Now, inside that block, the people supporting the Bitcoin network are going to go through the entire history of all Bitcoin to determine that the transactions in that block represent Bitcoin that has not been spent yet. And what I mean by that is you could have a situation where I say, I'm going to send 1 Bitcoin to Chris, but it's computers. I'm going to copy paste. I'm also going to send it to Shane. And since you can track every transaction from the beginning of all time, they would be able to say, no, you sent that Bitcoin to Chris. You don't have that Bitcoin. You can't send that Bitcoin to Shane. Bitcoin solved the copy paste problem of the internet through the way that it works. Everyone checking everyone's work all the time, nowhere to hide, no secrets, no funny business, period. Once they've determined that every transaction is legitimate, then they'll do the great big Sudoku puzzle in the sky that allows them to solve the block. Basically, this is just a way that Satoshi figured out to make computers do work. Because if you don't have to do work for it, like the government doesn't have to do work to print the money, then you can just, can just, you know what I mean? So he can control the fact that you need to work for this by making a computer solve an arbitrarily difficult puzzle. Once that's been solved, there's basically a process, Shane, where the tail end of the last block is connected in to the top of the new block. And then this block has a tail end. And when the next block comes, they take that tail end and they pull it up. They connect it into the head of the next block. And that's what makes the chain. So every 10 minutes, these computers aren't going back and necessarily validating every single transaction ever, if I'm getting this right, because I am getting out of my depth a little bit here. They're basically checking that the end of the block and the beginning of the block match, and then the end of the block and the beginning of the block match, to where a computer just go, yes, we're good. Instead of like literally the billions of transactions that have occurred, you're like checking those kind of ins and outs, basically.
Yeah, that's accounting reconciliation to a T, right? Month to month, things have to tick and tie so that you're reporting correctly.
Exactly.
Yes, that makes sense to me. And I think the concept of Bitcoin is good for the world, right? Because you don't want governments to be able to fluctuate prices and things like that to their benefits. One of my biggest questions is, in what way is the U.S. going to be incentivized to adopt Bitcoin as the currency of the country, of the world? Because right now the dollar is the primary currency of the world. What incentive does the U.S. have to adopt Bitcoin as that currency of the world? Because they would then have no more leverage, keeping themselves dominant from the rest of the world. And I get it. I'm a humanitarian. I want people to be as fair as possible. I just don't think that governments are going to willingly adopt something like that unless you get, and all of this is backed by the dollar anyway, because you have to pay into it right now unless you do all the work to mine it.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of questions there, but I'm kind of curious your thoughts on that.
So let's ask a couple of questions behind those questions real quick, Chris, because I think Chris can answer the initial question that you answered, which is, what is Bitcoin going to do? Or maybe even better, what is the nation state going to do in response to Bitcoin, right? I think both of us can answer that. I think even more importantly is, why is the answer to that question holding you back from adopting something that you yourself has said is good? What about the nation state's response to Bitcoin is important for you before you start stacking Satoshis again?
Yeah. And I think there's multiple answers to that.
Okay.
First answer would be, the government can still affect prices of Bitcoin right now because it's still tied to people buying and selling actual Bitcoin. So if the government were to come out tomorrow and say, we're never adopting this, the reason it's gone as high as it has right now is because Trump has been, hey, I'm thinking about this. We have our own coin now. We're keeping an open mind on this. But if he came out tomorrow and said, hey, this will never happen, we're never going to do this, people would sell like crazy, right? And it would tank because it's still backed by the U.S. dollar in a lot of ways, right?
Let's stop right there.
Yeah.
No. Bitcoin is not backed by the US dollar. Bitcoin is backed by its own damn self. And when we went to the show in Las Vegas, they conducted over 4,000 peer-to-peer Bitcoin transactions for food and merchandise without a single US dollar ever appearing one time.
Sure.
So as long as we agree that this network has value, and quite frankly, we don't even need to agree because it straight up has the properties of money, period. You and I might need to agree that pine straw has value in order to use as money, but Bitcoin, gold, just straight up works as money. As long as we have that ability to transact with one another, we don't need the US dollar. It's so incredibly difficult for someone like us who has lived our whole life with only one money. We don't even, we grew up in America and we think the only language is English. And then you go to France and like everyone speaks three languages. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
we're growing up in an environment with one language, and it blows our mind for people to be able to speak more than one fluently. We've grown up our whole lives with only one money. I haven't paid for a single thing in a gold coin, and I'm almost 40 years old. I have not given gold over for anything one time. And yet gold is money, correct?
The US dollar is no longer backed by gold, but yes, it is used as currency in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I mean, if I know gold is good and you know gold is good, and I'm in America and you're in Mexico and you have a donkey and I want it.
Yeah. So you're getting at the perception of Bitcoin by people to have value. And I think you still need to buy into Bitcoin with the wealth you have, right? And until you're able to just fully transition, because you're going to have to kind of do it all at once for this to work, right? You fully transition all of your wealth into Bitcoin, and now it's the global currency. That's my tough part there.
You don't have to do it all at once, okay? And the supply of Bitcoin is beautiful because Satoshi set it up to issue itself in response to people's work over a 120-year period. We're not even going to even get to all 21 million coins until the year like 2138 or something, dude. Something ridiculous like that. And the reason why he wanted to do that slowly is so that he could slowly supplant the money that there already is. You could be buying $50 of Bitcoin a month from now until the time you're dead, and you will love your freaking life. Nobody is going to tell me that the US dollar is not currently the greatest medium of exchange, period. The US dollar is good for any good or service that you could imagine on planet Earth, period.
Yeah.
It is a better medium of exchange than Bitcoin in practical terms today. But where people get so tripped up is in believing that the US dollar is good for anything at all other than that. Anything at all. I'm going to save in this thing because this is good money. That money sucks. Okay. My uncle sat in that chair not 2 weeks ago and said that when he was 10 years old, a burger and fry and soda was 60 cents. And 10 of those cents would turn into 5 cents when you return the glass bottle. Because the Coke was a dime. And then when you get the bottle back, they give you a nickel.
Mm-hmm.
Now I go to Five Guys, the cheeseburger and the small fry with no drink is $17. Nothing has changed about the actual physical properties of the meat or the bun or the French fries, period. And some would say it's even gotten worse. The only thing that has changed is the fact that the government is printing more of its own token to any level that it desires for no reason whatsoever. So
I think that's for a reason. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just saying, I think that they are printing for a reason to handle inflation, to assert global dominance, right? Because they can do that through the dollar.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that there is a mechanism that they're using in the global economy to assert dominance.
Sure. It ain't handling inflation, though.
It's causing it. And
it is causing
it's causing it. But that may be true. It doesn't make it a better situation for the people who hold it, though.
Oh, it's not.
Right.
It's not. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
No, and I agree with I mean, there's benefits, and there have been. We've enjoyed benefits of dollarizing the world, because
here in the U.S.
Here in the U.S.,
yes.
Yeah, because we can say, hey, Russia, you're off the SWIFT payment system now. We don't have to drop a bomb. We don't have to, we can use the dollar as a weapon. It's our greatest weapon.
Yeah, wars are not fought with utility anymore. They're fought with the U.S. dollar economy sabotage. Simple.
Yeah.
So we've benefited as a nation from the dollarization of the world. But
yes.
What else? Individually, as citizens, we have done the opposite of benefiting.
Well, there's no free lunch, right? I mean, we've paid for that in the form of inflation, mm-hmm. which means our share of the dollar network goes down and down and down and down daily, a lot of times without even realizing it. It's like the slow, silent tax that we're being taxed in exchange for our nation being able to say, well, we're going to cut you out of the SWIFT system.
So sure. Before Bitcoin in America, if that's your money and you have no control, you become a gold bug and you start converting your money slowly over time into silver and gold. And 1971 hits, they dislocate everything, they print to infinity, and your little castle of gold is sovereign because the American government cannot make that dang stuff. They have to go find it.
Right.
They would have to work for that if they wanted it, right? And if I'm the government and I have military power, do I really want to work for anything? No, I just want to give it to myself. Like, who wants to work to beat a game when you have a cheat code? Not me. But if you're not the government, then your choice is either to watch your wealth melt over time, or you make that little citadel of gold and silver, and then the never-ending waves of cash crash up against your castle walls, and you stay sovereign, you stay safe. Because by the time you're ready to buy something, you take the gold and you go back out to the marketplace and it buys you the same amount of stuff. It's mind-boggling to think of things in terms of gold and not US dollars. But when I did the calculations on my house and saw that I would need $200,000 in 2014 to buy it and $400,000 in 2024 to buy it, same house. Mm-hmm. But I would need 600 ounces of gold to buy it in 2014 and 600 ounces of gold to buy it in 2024. That broke my mind.
I'm not sure I agree with that point, because gold is very much also tied to the global economy, and it does fluctuate in price. You know, for example, I own gold as part of my investments, part of my portfolio, and I hold it because I'm leveraging against the economy, inflation, things like that. But it does fluctuate higher or lower based on people perceiving a strong economy or not perceiving a strong economy.
Yeah.
So you probably, as gold has gone up in price, you probably could have bought your house for less gold than you did back in 2014 or something like that. I don't know how the inflation and the gold prices work, go hand in hand, but
yeah, I mean, when I did the math, it was the same amount of gold. Now, to your point, and this is what number 9 Paul was trying to deal with, you're always tracking back to the dollar. Because not only is it an excellent medium of exchange, the dollar is also a terribly useful unit of account. You know, the 3 properties of money is store of value, medium of exchange, unit of account. We know the dollar is an amazing medium of exchange. We know it is a terrible store of value. The worst? I mean, other nation state currencies are worse, yeah, but that's just because the category called a government issued token is just a bad store of value.
Yeah, fiat currency.
It's an amazing token to conduct commerce inside said nation state, and in the case of a superpower, outside of said nation state, but that's it. It is such a great unit of account, however, that many people are only able to account for the value of a certain thing back in that thing that they know. So Bitcoin is going up and down. Gold is going up and down. It makes it sound like the dollar's not doing something. The dollar is going woo. The dollar is floating in outer space,
untethered.
Yeah,
right?
And I see the point of Bitcoin is going up and down because the dollar is, yes, buying and selling, but the dollar is also worth more or less over time.
Another example is like you could, Robert, number 14, Robert, gave us the example, 78-year-old man, has lived a long time, was a gold bug, real estate, has invested in lots of assets. He's 100% Bitcoin today, just about. Bitcoin, Tesla, and MicroStrategies. He gave us the example that a nice men's suit at any point in time in history, a nice premium, nice men's suit that you would maybe keep for your life, costs about an ounce of gold. An ounce of gold over time can buy you about the same amount of stuff. It's a great hedge against inflation. But that's not because the gold itself is worth more. It's because the currency that you're exchanging in your head or physically, that's what's fluctuating. Right. I think that's the point that Stuart's trying to make.
No, I get that.
Yeah, I mean, when I found a gold coin in my house for having been in a company for 5 years, and I did the math on the amount of gold that was, I think it was like in 2019, I hit 5 years with a company and they're like, here's a gold coin. It's worth $500. Thank you for being here for 5 years. 2024 comes around. I check that $500 gold coin is now worth $624. I'm like, dang, what's up? But I was like, well, what if I had bought $500 worth of Bitcoin in 2019? It was like $6,000, $7,000 in 2024. I was like, ooh. And I went to the gold bug. I'm like, here, man, take this right here and give me money and I'll give me dollars. I'll go buy Bitcoin with it. And he told me the story of the fact that he's been slowly converting from dollars into gold and silver his whole life. And he ain't never going to change. But he pulled out a silver coin. He's like, look, man, this coin right here, literally in the 1960s, bought me a candy bar. And the candy bar was 10 cents. He said, today I could take the same silver coin and get the exact same candy bar. But now the candy bar is $2. And he helped me to the dollar will kind of burrow its way into your skin like a tick. And even if you try to yank it out, the head stays in there. You have to do like my granddad did. He would take his cigar and he would hold the hot end of it to the tick until it pulled its own head out. Then he would kill it, right? The dollar can get down into your brain like a tick to where you can only conceive of all value in those terms. And it's important to realize that there are other forms of money out there and they're tied directly to the goods and services they can buy.
I actually think, Shane, the real conversation with you is not Bitcoin versus the dollar or even Bitcoin versus gold. It's Shane already recognized that when you earn dollars, it's really important that you convert them into assets that appreciate in value. Yeah, right. Absolutely. Immediately, as soon as you can, as much as you can. So let's maybe like focus on that because, gold is one of those assets. And as we've already kind of discussed here, it basically just when you adjust gold's value over time for actual true inflation, it's not really going up in value. It's not really going up in value.
Yeah, I guess it depends on timing, right?
And then if you do the same thing with your index fund or, FANG or, whatever you want to use, yes, there are index funds or individual stocks, certainly, that you could go in and handpick and say, well, I mean, adjusted for inflation, I made 20% year over year for the last 5 years.
Right.
And that would be fantastic.
Be beating the market.
You'd be beating the market. But in reality, what do we know about trying to time the market?
Yeah. I mean,
it doesn't work, right?
No.
It's time in the market, not timing the market. Because it's almost impossible for anybody. The NVIDIA of right now, I will never be able to pick it. I mean, I don't think I could. I think there's very few people who could, unless they maybe work there or something like that. Different story. But so when you look at it under that context, index funds, traditional investments, Vanguard, whatever, you're basically beating inflation by 2-3%. So your real value is going up by 2 or 3% a year.
Yeah, depends on what you're in. Yeah, certainly.
Depends on what you're in. But the real question is, like, how do you measure inflation?
I think the real question is, if you realize that you're earning a form of money that does not store value and therefore must go place it somewhere that will store your value and even grow it. Correct?
You're treating Bitcoin like an investment fund, which I get, right? If I was going to use Bitcoin as a feature of my portfolio, I understand that you could absolutely use it for that because it's perceived value, just like the dollar's perceived value, right? I think right now the dollar is perceived by the world to have value because you can buy anything anywhere. I don't think you can use Bitcoin to buy anything anywhere right now.
No.
And it's got to take a world philosophy to adopt that. And I just don't think that is feasible right now. Mm-hmm. Maybe to your point, 150 years, 200 years, 1,000 years, maybe that is feasible. You'd have to have everybody come to a consensus to say this now has value to buy anything.
Well, that will take time to happen. We
Certainly.
believe it will happen.
Certainly.
But
And it's already accepted.
But here's what Bitcoin
In
is
some places, yeah.
right now, though. Here's what it already is. If you measured Bitcoin against, of course, the S&P, if you measured it against NVIDIA, if you measured it against any other asset class since inception, Bitcoin has won.
Sure.
But that's not all it is, though. Because you could look at that and you'd be like, yeah, well, that's historically what it's done up to this point. It's been a great investment. Okay, cool. But that's not all it is, because even if you own the next best thing, which would be NVIDIA, by the way, you can't spend. Yeah. I mean, and you know, you should be grateful for that, as am I. But I can't spend my NVIDIA shares. Right. Bitcoin is not just digital gold. It's also, it was conceived as peer-to-peer digital cash. And even though you can't spend it everywhere, it is a medium of exchange.
Yes.
It is a unit of account. It is a store of value. Your NVIDIA is a really good store of value, but that's the only one of those three things that it has. But along with that comes a tremendous amount of risk. There's the CEO of NVIDIA. There's competition. There's pricing. There's, you know, Bitcoin doesn't have a CEO. That's centralization. There's risk of centralization with a stock or a company. Bitcoin is decentralized. So you start looking at all these things of what Bitcoin already is today, and you layer on top of that what it could be in the future if it's adopted as the global currency.
That's the question.
I guess it's not. It doesn't have to be so black or white. No. You know, that doesn't have to happen in order for Bitcoin to remain and as valuable as it is today and grow. Does that make sense?
Well, yes. I think there's a lot to what you said there. I think Bitcoin can still be. Let me back up and try to collect my thoughts here. So I see what you're saying as in, hey, this actually holds value to go back and forth with your peers for goods and services. I get that. You're asking the entire world to then over time adopt that as the one thing to buy and sell. And I don't think you can convince, I mean, a small number of people are accepting Bitcoin right now. I don't think you can convince the 99% of people to start adopting this form of currency as something of value because they don't perceive it as value, as opposed to they perceive the US dollar as value, whether it has it or not, right? Because it's just a piece of paper, right? They perceive that as value and they are going to accept that. You need a mind shift to start accepting something like a currency that's online that you can go back and forth. That's where I have my hardships. I don't think that you're going to get 99% of people within the next 1,000 years to say, oh, okay, now for everything we can accept Bitcoin. I just don't believe that's going to happen.
Okay. I mean, if you look at the last 1,000 years, how many forms of currency globally do you think we've had?
Yeah, a lot.
Sure.
But which one has worked throughout that entire time period? Gold. Here's a really interesting question for you, Shane. You have been able to recognize that Bitcoin works in a public way according to standard accounting rules that make sense, right? We're not putting this into a black box and popping out the other side. Absolutely every aspect of it is visible for your inspection, okay? Even more so than the companies whose stocks you're purchasing, all right? You know, one possible hangup is the fact that we're saying it's money, but it's only accepted in a certain spot right now. And, you know, it might take a while for it to become global. No problem. The US dollar went global over just pretty much the past 70 years. So let me get 70 years and let's chat again.
Sure.
But you're approaching this almost like an investment, right? And you're saying, hey, I'm investing in Wall Street. I'm investing in real estate. I'm finding ways to take my money and grow my money. We're telling you point blank that if you set Bitcoin as money aside for a minute and focus on Bitcoin as an assessment, as an investment, right? Sure. Because light is both a wave and a particle. It's fine for it to be both. If we focus on Bitcoin as an investment over the past 16 years, it is the top performing asset, period. Which sane investor would not put 1% of their portfolio into the top performing asset 16 years in a row? What's holding you back?
Yeah, I can answer that question, because you're talking about an investment portfolio where I can mitigate risks, because I can have a giant portfolio to say this is going to mitigate some of my risk here. And you're talking about Bitcoin, which I don't have a mechanism to mitigate if Bitcoin were to crash in an hour. I have a stop loss, or I have a variety of stocks, ETFs, whatever, that I can mitigate the risk over on this side. The worry is that you can never mitigate the risk over on this side. And truthfully, somebody can come in there, Elon Musk can come in and fluctuate Bitcoin like crazy, just like the stock market. Now we have a SEC that's going to say, hey, you can't do that. But Elon could buy billions of Bitcoin right now and it skyrockets. And then he could sell billions and it dips down. There's no regulatory body that's saying, no, you can't do that right now. I also, you mentioned earlier about auditing and the people are auditing these things back and forth. I guess you're asking the everyday person to recognize, hey, that's fraudulent or not fraudulent. And they have educated people in these companies that are doing accounting work to make sure things look tick and tie and look fraudulent, look okay, not fraudulent. And I think I have a hang up there to people that are on the outside looking in, trying to do the auditing piece of that, when I don't know if they know from an accounting perspective how to do that auditing piece. Does all that make sense?
What if I told you you could put a stop loss limit on Bitcoin, and if it hits a certain point, sold, gone?
Is that a company that you're putting that through, like a Coinbase, and Coinbase is using that as a
so long as you're willing to keep your hummus in the grocery store, then that company can perform those for you. My cousin Winchester trades Bitcoin. Right. I am a Bitcoiner. I'm getting Bitcoin, but he trades Bitcoin and he sets as many variables as you can with stocks, options, puts, calls. It trades just like a stock. Yeah. So what if I told you that you can protect yourself from downside if that's one of your reservations? How would that make you feel?
You're using, it makes you feel better about it, right? Certainly. But you're using a third-party company, which I thought was the reason you're getting away from Bitcoin, or getting away from the US dollar, and owning something that doesn't have to go through a company. You own it, right? So I guess that's my Coinbase, for example. They're making money based on managing your Bitcoin in some form or fashion. So how do we get away from third-party companies doing that and the actual
you custody it yourself?
Yeah. I mean, but
we're maxis. We are maxis, and we're done with that money. This is our money. But for someone who wants to be on the investment side, who cares whether you control? I mean, do you control the stock shares that you trade in and out? Not really. They're kind of they're already with someone else, right? Who says,
Fidelity or E-Trade.
Hey, these shares are yours, bud.
You are using a third party, but it's backed by our government, right? Just to have regulations on these third party companies that are, we have people that are looking into these companies saying, hey, is this good? Are you doing good practices or not doing good practices? I don't know if if US is going to step in and say, Coinbase, even though I don't know, I'm not going to adopt Bitcoin, even though I don't know what you're doing, this and that, I don't perceive, a Bitcoin as value. I'm going to step in and actually make sure you're doing things right. I guess I'm a very risk adverse investor, as you can tell. I'm a very risk adverse investor. And you can ask my wife too. She's like, hey, if we invest in anything, I want the stop loss to be what you put the money in at. She does not want us to lose any money. So that's my frame I'm coming from here.
Yeah, I mean, my risk tolerance is also 0. That's why I'm done with the world's largest superpower, because they do whatever they want, whenever they want. And they might come in and regulate, but how well do they regulate Enron?
Yeah.
How well do they inspect WeWork? Right? I would rather take the world's largest supercomputer, because this thing follows rules. The world's largest superpower does not follow rules. It just makes whatever rules it wants until it changes them. This is the world's largest supercomputer, and it follows rules that I can count on. Now, I can trade that sucker, stop loss, all that juice, right? And I'm not asking regular people to audit. I'm asking regular people to plug in a computer, and then the computer will do the work.
Okay, so it is kind of like that's what I was
It's
asking.
happening
Software that
automatically.
you run.
It's a software.
Yes,
It's not somebody going in there and looking at the transaction.
No.
Oh, this is okay.
It is a cold machine.
And these are called Bitcoin nodes. And you can download a version of the Bitcoin core software. We have it in the other room. And that software just runs and does the work that we were describing earlier,
Okay.
independent of an individual.
That gives me a little, because my perception was, hey, you're asking the population to look at transactions and say, oh my gosh, that's bad, that's good or bad. No, It's got to be some sort of mechanism, computer looking at that and flagging things.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, because I don't think we finished that point.
Yeah. It's machine enforced fairness.
Yeah.
It's an environment where everyone, individual, corporation, government, must work for and follow the rules of. It doesn't get more transparent and fair than that. And even though Chris and I are absolutely like on fire, we're like, "Ugh," doesn't mean that you have to be on fire. Okay. And also, just because Bitcoin has only, just because Bitcoin has not reached the level that the dollar has, doesn't mean that it needs to get there before you start to benefit from it. So, we will stop there, so that we can get you to your call.
I was going to say, I've got a million questions.
I know.
And I'd like to talk,
And here's what we'll say to you. We do ask each of our guests if they'd be willing to come back on in 9 months to give us an update on their Bitcoin baby. Would you be willing to come back on in 9?
Yeah, I mean, I would do that. It would mean investing in Bitcoin, right?
Not necessarily, because even the cash people are coming back.
I'd like to see, I could see it as an investment medium. I still have a million questions in the world. I invested in Bitcoin at one point and Ripple at one point, and very small dollars. And I mean, it was not. It was something I should have stayed in for an investment purposes, but I never believed in it as a global currency, and I think that's where my hang up is.
Yeah. So, and it doesn't need to be a global currency yet for it to be the most outstanding investment so far.
Yeah.
So what we would impress upon you as we're going to get into this tasting here is that you don't need to wrap your whole head around it, and it doesn't need to wrap all the way around the world for you to try it out just a little bit. And we're even going to offer to give you $50 worth. That's not going to do you any harm to just let it sit there. And in 9 months, we can go, well, hey, what has happened to it? And by then you might go, dang, whoops, I'm about to start getting some more of this. Or you might listen to some more of the show. We don't know, right? We want to find out in 9 months. Yeah. But, we don't think it's going to hurt you to get a little scooch and have fun watching what it does. So let's have some hummus here, and then let's have some hummus. And then we'll make you your offer.
All right.
And we'll have to do it lickety.
Yeah, we do. So we got the French onion hummus for you here. Wonderful, wonderful new flavor.
There you go. Is that what?
Is it
the favorite the favorite flavor, or is this?
It's up there for me. I would probably. It's hard for me. What? How does French onion rank for you?
It's yum. My top flavor is classic, but French onion is good.
Yeah. So Yeah, I will say, you guys know my wife. She is Lebanese.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, bro.
Her mom makes very, very good hummus. So, I can't speak for it. It's going to taste good no matter what to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you'll have to have her try it sometime.
Yeah,
so.
Definitely.
So let's all get a fat glob. We'll crunch it into the mic here together.
All right. You got that. I'm going to get this. All right.
Cheers, boys. Thanks, Shane.
Yeah. I mean, it should taste like the old French onion dip that you
Good
put the ripple, the ruffled potato chips into.
Right.
That's what we designed this to taste like, except no sour cream, chickpea based, plant based, protein, all the good, all the good macros. Yeah.
All right.
It doesn't have the little grittiness either that,
Sabra has.
Yeah.
Let's make Shane his offer.
All right. We got the 50 deadbeats here.
Centrally issued government tokens.
Okay. Or 45,044 Satoshis.
So here's what I want to do. Because I want to have another conversation about this, because I have a bunch of questions that I don't think we could get to. We only have an hour. I want to see what happens. I'll take the Bitcoin.
Yes!
Yeah.
Oh! Yeah, Shane!
Man, that was
Dude.
great. That was great. But
Yeah!
he's got some contingency here.
Yeah, I want to have another conversation about it, and now I'm just curious to see what happens in 8-9 months. But
Yeah.
no, this was a great conversation.
I enjoyed it.
Dude.
I like having a skeptic. You've got accounting and finance background, so I think we got some questions today that we probably haven't before, and that's good for us.
I figured you could probably had all the questions already asked to you. So.
No. Every person is unique, and Bitcoin is so big that you can come at it from 8,000 different doorways. Yeah. And it's really interesting to hear how you are approaching it. And I love that we are able to suspend your disbelief, or really you are able to suspend your disbelief long enough to just stack a couple thousand sats. And then you don't have to take any action until you're back in 9 months if you don't want to. And then we can take a look at it and see, would Hiba's stop loss order at 111,001 ever trigger in those 9 months? You know what I mean? Or would you just, right? So we love that, dude. It's such a big win for us today, Shane. You're bringing our scoreboard to 82 who have stacked the sats with us, which is a monumental win for us. 8 who need a little bit more time. We are trying to get to 100 who stack the sats before we get to 10 who choose the cash. Okay. And if you came in here number 9 after my 10-year-old daughter took us up to 8, we would have just absolutely died.
Yeah.
And we're so grateful to you for opening your mind up just even a little bit to stack your first sats and to get off 0. And now you have a new addition into your investment portfolio, but you're actually also holding 2 currencies now, right? So, you want to diversify maybe to limit your risk, but everybody's only holding 1 currency. Ooh. This is the part of the show where we ask you Satillionaires for your value in exchange for ours. We did hit an all-time high while we were taping the show, dude. 112,740, July 10, 20. No wonder I was going nuts, dude. Yeah. Bitcoin was pumping and so was I.
Yeah.
So smash the subscribe button if you're pumped about Bitcoin's all-time high. Smash the subscribe button if you're pumped about taking someone who's not quite sure and helping him stack his first sats because his laser eyes are going to come online. Stack the sats if you want your chance at 10 million Satoshis when we reach 100,000 YouTube subscribers. Right now, that's $11,280 worth of nasty little fiat tokens. You can come on the show, satchats.com, to grab your slot in the studio today. We need people to come on the show. Whether you know about Bitcoin or you don't, you're perfect. We're blessed with 3 months booked wall to wall. And we shoot 8 a week and we're ripped for 12 weeks. That's it's almost 100 people who are waiting to come on the show. Go ahead and jump in, man. let them know that you were part of the very first year of our community on YouTube and that you were one of our guests. Okay. Get the lowest number you can. Okay. Don't be guest number 1,000, be guest number 100. All right. Get that low number, man. Come on in early here.
Yeah.
All right. And get our watch hours going. We're trying to get to 2,700 subscribers on YouTube by August 21. We're trying to get to 4,000 watch hours by August 21 so we can start showing Zaxby's ads to all you fools that don't have YouTube Premium. All right? Because we're trying to mine that fiat so we can get some Bitcoin. You can also send us your sats on the Lightning Network and on the on-chain Bitcoin Network. Both our addresses are in the show notes. Big ups to VAW, who was in the comments trying to figure out how to support us in that way, okay?
Yeah.
We are the world's biggest Bitcoin Welcome Center, and we need Satoshis coming in from every angle so we can continue to power our work, Johnny Appleseed style, and give them to people who come in and get ourselves some Bitcoin, dude, because we want some Bitcoin too. All right? So thanks so much for your time. Remember, Sat Chats is for educational purposes only and should not be construed as financial advice. See you tomorrow.